Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Inner Carnivore Podcast. Today I have special guest Claus Carlsen with me. Before we get started, wherever you guys are listening, whether it's Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or watching us on YouTube, if you could do us a huge favor and like, subscribe, comment, and or rate, that really helps us out, and I really appreciate that. So, how's it going, Claus?
It's going great. I had about a pound and a half of steak for my dinner today, and I'm feeling great as usual.
Very nice, very nice. And you're in Finland, correct?
I'm in Finland, yeah. I'm in Helsinki, Finland, so that's very south of Finland. It's about the same height as Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay. So is it like the same climate, like super cold?
It's not quite as cold as Alaska, I think. At least when I'm following a guy on Twitter from Alaska, and they seem to have a little bit colder temperatures than here. But the light is the same, which is dark and at the moment, and it can get pretty cold in winter as well. That's for sure.
Gotcha. Have you lived there your whole life?
No, I'm actually from Denmark, which is not so far away from here. Mm-hmm. It's about 1,000 miles, about 1,000 miles south and or southwest. And so I grew up in Denmark, but I have relatives in Finland, and then I've lived in a few other countries as well, Germany, Hong Kong, and places like that.
Been all over. Very nice.
Yeah.
So I want to get into your carnivore journey a little bit, but before we do, being in the States, it's super easy, and I know the rest of the world knows this about us, but it's super easy for us to feel like we're in our own bubble, right? Like everything that happens in the world is the same as the United States because that's the only important thing in the world, right?
Yes.
So how is it being carnivore in Finland? So in America, it's not that different. Like you grow up with, meat, and we used to have commercials that said beef, it's what's for dinner. What's that like in Finland from a cultural standpoint?
I think it's not that different, actually. At least all the people I know, they really like their meat, and doing barbecuing or grilling is a big thing here. And I think Finland has gotten very gourmet over the last decades, but certainly not less meat friendly. And it's super easy to get very, very high quality meat, whether it's beef, pork, lamb, whatever you want, and of course fish. So of course, it's very nice. And I think also Finland is, like many countries in Europe, I think pretty influenced by the US in terms of norms and things to go for and things to buy. So it's not that different. Yeah.
I always like to ask that with people, especially from other countries, because I'll find that, I'll post something and be like, it's not that expensive, it's not that hard. And then somebody goes, yeah, that's like a small fortune where I'm from, or I can't even find that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess there are, other areas of the world where it's not as easy. So I always like to ask that, especially with people that are from other countries.
No, and I think I was talking to somebody from New Zealand, and they seem to have just horrendously high prices on fish and other things, although they're in the middle of the ocean. But you never know. But I think Finland in terms of retail, grocery retail stuff, is very, very Americanized. So we just have an incredible choice. So all kinds of stuff. Even also, if you want to be vegan, you have everything in vegan versions. You have an enormous amount of choice in meat, and the prices are not too bad. Yeah,
it's crazy about New Zealand because like a lot of the lamb that I get, I don't eat lamb a ton because it's more expensive, but almost all of it comes from New Zealand.
Yeah, same here.
The butter I eat comes from New Zealand, so that's crazy to me that being at the source of it would be so much more expensive than somebody that has to import it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's probably a taxation issue, is my guess. But anyway.
Very true. So, on your journey, how long have you been carnivore? or close to
Uh,
carnivore?
I'm getting up to 4 years. So November 18th is the 4 year anniversary, and I actually started. I started out by quitting alcohol, which I had my 4 year anniversary on the 15th of October.
Congratulations.
And thanks. And then I that didn't really bring anything other than, of course, I didn't have any hangovers anymore. But apart from that, it didn't. I kind of thought, oh, I'm going to lose some weight, and this is going to be the solution, because I felt I was drinking too much, and I lost 0 weight in that month. And I did feel a bit better, but 0 weight, still high blood pressure. And then I thought, okay, I've been looking into changing other things, because I've kind of got convinced that what we eat must have a much bigger effect on our health than what we're told. And so I've looked into the ketogenic stuff quite a lot, hundreds of hours of research online and YouTube videos and stuff. And so I started on the 18th of November 2019 with a ketogenic, serious ketogenic lifestyle, and I combined it from the beginning with a time-restricted eating schedule. So I started out with a 16-8, so I ate twice within 8 hours, and then it kind of gradually, the eating window gradually contracted, because, and in fact, to mostly 1 meal a day. Because eating this way, you're not really, at least in my case, I'm not very hungry most of the time, or at all. So it kind of went to more towards 1 meal a day, and also after the first 18 months, so I was very strict ketogenic for the first 18 months, and then I kind of, let's say, slacked off a little bit on my keto ambition, and just focused more on meat, because it's just simpler, easier, and not so much work with recipes and other stuff. So it was kind of a gradual thing then after that. And in the beginning, I in the first 3 months, I lost about 55 pounds, and half of that I lost in the first month. In the first 4 weeks, actually, I lost half of that 55 pounds, and then it took about 8 weeks to lose the other 55. And I managed to get rid of my blood pressure medication, which I'd been on for about 4 years. So I was 54 when I started, and so I'm 58 now. And so I got off the blood pressure medication, and I didn't yet have blood sugar medication, so I didn't take any metformin, but my A1C was 7, so I was in fact diagnosable as a type 2 diabetic, and after 3 months my A1C was 4.6, so no more diabetic indications there. And then,
what did your doctors have to say? So, because you're on your medication, right? And obviously you're getting tested. Did you tell them you were going on it, or did they do, hey, Claus, what have you been doing? Because something remarkable is happening.
Well, in fact, because the Corona stuff hit, and I was in Finland and my doctor was in Germany, because that was my permanent residence at the time, and so my current stay in Finland has been since 20, and so I didn't see my doctor until September of 2020. So I'd already been, let's say, 10 months. I'd been doing ketogenic 10 months, and I got off the blood pressure medication on my own, because I was measuring morning and night. I was measuring my blood pressure, and I was starting to feel dizzy. And when I measured, I had it was 90/50, 90/45, and I thought, okay, that's just too low. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try for a week without the meds, and it kind of normalized around 110/60, which was good enough for me. So I stayed off them, and then I met my doctor in September, So 10 months in, and they did all the tests and blood tests and stuff, and they were very, let's say, impressed with and surprised when they saw it, and to their credit, or to her credit, she did not, even though my LDL was 199 at that point, so quite high at that point. She never mentioned taking a statin, not even once. So that's what they want to get you on statins and get your LDL down down to 70 or something. She said nothing, and she said, okay, she understands what I'm doing, and it's keep doing it. It's obviously working. So very supportive.
That's awesome. Yeah, because that's almost unheard of, like especially in the States with, and all the doctors you see on Twitter. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, you can have these life-altering changes. You can have all of these numbers improve, but if that one number goes up, it's automatically to another prescription.
Yes.
So do you have any advice for people who go through that, right? And then they get the blood test and their doctor goes, like, how do you have that conversation with a doctor when you have this medical professional that's telling you need to do something, and you're like, I don't want to be on a statin?
Yeah, I think it's good. First of all, I would encourage anyone or everyone to follow Marianne Holman on Twitter. She knows everything about the ill effects of statins, and she's very articulate about that. So I would encourage everyone getting into this lifestyle to do a little bit of research on statins and the side effect of statins. There is plenty of good data, plenty of good research showing that if you measure all-cause mortality, if that's the criteria, a very low LDL level is not good for you. And the older you get, the more important it is that you have enough cholesterol, have even a high enough LDL. And I think one of the theories is also that instead of using LDL as a marker, to use the HDL or the triglycerides to HDL ratio, and that seems to have a better correlation with heart disease than high LDL, or let's say moderately high LDL, however you want to define it. But I'm very convinced that it's an incredibly bad idea to take statins unless you have some very specific circumstances like familial hypercholesterolemia or something like that. And I'm not a doctor or a healthcare provider, so it's just my personal opinion. But no statin will pass my lips ever.
Yeah. I'm in a similar situation. I think my LDL, when I checked, it might be a little skewed because I was actively bulking and eating very high calories. But my LDL was over 200, but my triglyceride was low, HDLs were high, and my ratio was good. I think it was just over 1. And so,
yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. So I am also somebody that, yes, there are certain doctors that I trust. Most of them, when it comes to like biomechanics of the body, like that's physics, right? That's not something that is as subjective. Apologies to any medical professionals out there. But doing my own research, I found one of them, I guess Twitter @ is LDL Skeptic, and he's a professor out of South Florida, I believe. And he published a couple saying, research has shown that statins are actually contraindicated and bad for you and will do more harm if you have that high LDL, good triglyceride, HDL ratios, and eat a low-carb diet. And I think that's been the biggest hurdle for the average person to overcome is all of these studies don't take into effect your actual diet and lifestyle. Like this is just
Yeah.
a huge case study, and that's what they promote. They're right. They're like, this is a 2 million person study. These are just a whole bunch of numbers on paper that don't take into effect what it is you're eating and all your other lifestyle,
Yeah, very
stuff.
true.
So
Yeah.
it's yeah, good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think um, I don't know. I think for me at least, and for many of our friends that we discuss with on social media, it's been incredibly transformative, life changing to change the dietary lifestyle to a low carb one. And I don't think it necessarily has to be just eating meat. I mean, I did my ketogenic for the first 18 months. I felt fantastic within immediately. And I was definitely eating broccoli, cabbage, and a number of very low carb plants. And it did not hurt me. At least I felt great. And one of the big things that really improved my quality of life the most was probably getting rid of 40 years of irritable bowel syndrome, and not having to check out where's the closest toilet every time you go somewhere, because you're gonna have to run to the toilet at some point. That disappeared immediately, and I think the reason is I was never a big eater of processed foods. It's not so typical in my, let's say, how I grew up. So I mostly was eating whole foods, but I was eating plenty of bread, baking plenty of bread, and lots of pasta and things like that. So I think getting rid of the grains and the sugars, and then the time restricted eating combined with that, I think somehow my gut microbiome just, it knocked out the bad stuff and got the good stuff in. So I think that's I think that's really important for the people who are not ready to take the step of going carnivore or even completely ketogenic. I think there are massive health benefits to be had from just cutting out the sugars and the grains, grain-based products, and then introducing a time-restricted eating schedule. I think that already will have a huge effect on most people.
Did you go cold turkey? Is probably not the right phrasing,
Yes,
because
I did.
that would suggest that you gave it up. Did you just go straight ketogenic? Did you ease
Yes.
into it?
No.
How did that process
Straight.
go?
Yeah,
Straight?
straight. I just straight, and I was, my family was, mock complaining that, you're smelling like nail polish remover. That took about a month and a half. So I was, it was day 2. I started smelling like a nail salon. So strong ketosis pretty much immediately, and also it's so easy to, for me it was very easy to do, because I'm kind of I've always been more of a I don't know, not a big sweet tooth and stuff like that. So it was kind of easy to do, and at the beginning I thought, well, I'll try it out for a month, but and in fact, after I'd lost the first 24 pounds or 23 pounds, I already went out and bought some new clothes as well, because I'd lost I think I'd lost 3 inches on my waist. So I went out and bought some new clothes and stuff, but then I lost 3 more inches on the waist, so I had to do it twice in 3 months.
Yeah, that is the biggest negative. Is you got to redo your entire wardrobe.
Yeah, it was
I
crazy.
did the same thing. I had all of these. The job I used to have to wear, dress shirt, dress pants.
Mm-hmm.
I bought like a new suit for a thing I had, and then I went, like, I'm in Arizona, so it's very hot, and so we went through the summer, and I didn't wear any of that stuff. It's like shorts and tank tops, like it's still
Yeah.
in the 80s right now. And yeah, so then I start, I was like, oh, I'm gonna wear these dress pants, and I was like, you got to be kidding me! Like, literally, none of my pants fit. Like, I had to go out and buy new jeans because nothing fit, and I didn't have that huge of a weight loss, but like I lost so many inches around the waist that I had to buy new
Yeah.
belts and new pants, and I was just like, so yes, I
Yeah.
totally,
The interesting thing is I've gained some weight through lifting, and but my waist has not increased. So I've gained some muscle somewhere else, obviously, and not around the waist. And yeah, I had to I threw out I think 25 suits because I knew yeah I'm never going to go back. So out they go. And so I used the opportunity to get myself a bespoke suit which still fits. So that was nice. And my shoe size went down to my original shoe size. So I was American shoe size 10, but I was 11 for many years. But my foot shrank. I guess through the loss of weight, it kind of regains its
yeah.
old shape. So
Have you always worked out? Like, because I see your posts on Twitter, and there's a huge time difference here. So I like wake up in the morning and I'm like, I was at the gym. Like,
yeah, I've kind of I've had. I've been working out. So I had my weight loss phase so I lost all that weight in 3 months, and then I started exercising. So I did absolutely zero exercise in the weight loss phase, and then I started with some calisthenics at home because it was COVID time, and then as soon as it kind of became obvious that it's maybe it's not what it's hyped up to be. I got a gym membership here, just in a gym close to me, and then I started lifting heavier weights. So and I've been doing that.
Was there a specific instance that prompted that, or you lost all this weight and you started feeling better, or how did you go from, okay, I've lost this weight, now what, and end up in the gym?
I was watching some YouTube videos. I'm a very impressionable guy. Even though I'm an old guy, so I'm kind of like an impressionable teenager. So I watched a lot of YouTube, and so when you look for the stuff on healthy eating and stuff, they prompt you with exercise stuff as well. And so I saw some videos by a guy who I think he's been criticized quite a lot, but I thought, okay, this guy looks, he has a body and a size which I can relate to. So not a huge guy, not a bodybuilder, a guy called Chris Heria, and a Florida-based guy, and who is into selling a lot of merchandise, but phenomenal body composition and everything done with calisthenics. So I kind of got into that. And then I thought, okay, at my age, calisthenics maybe not going to cut it, so I'm going to have to lift some heavier stuff. And so what I do now is I do some daily core exercises at home, and then I go to the gym 2-3 times a week to do my heavy lifting, so my high intensity training program, which is I do one warm-up set, and then I do one set to failure, 6 to 9 reps to failure on which is full body exercise. So
Very nice. Yeah, I think I've talked to a few people, and I've been on some podcasts, and I've had some guests, and it all seems to be a common theme where everybody makes the first decision to change how they're going to eat without any really plan on how they're going to continue forward, right? Like,
yes.
There's no, hey, first I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to start working out, and then it's like, okay, I need to change something, so I'm going to change how I eat. And usually it's like some research, right? I do some research, I I'm online, I'm digging through stuff, and I realized that maybe diet has more to do with my everyday health than I thought before. And people make this decision, even little decisions like, hey, I'm going to go keto, or hey, I'm going to cut out sugars or grains. And then they see such good results that they go, well, now what else can I improve? Like, okay, so surely there's got to be more. And then they do more. And then all of a sudden it's working out and exercising. And then it's just this avalanche downhill. And you look at where you were and look at where you are now. And it's like a completely unrecognizable person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's describes my process as well. I did work out. I mean, the first time I went to a gym, I was 17, back in Denmark. Not many gyms around back then, so it was a local boxing club, and I was living in the town which was kind of the boxing capital of Denmark. So I had an old boxer tell me what to do, and he was looking at me. I was pretty scrawny back then, and so that's how I started. And then I've been doing it on and off, but never really for extended periods of time. So now I'm daily exercise now consistently over 3.5 years, and that's definitely the longest if we don't count. Back in my school days, of course, we had phys ed twice a week, 12 years of school. So
That's,
but if we don't,
and so I posted my like before and after a little bit, and I kind of have a similar but a little more exaggerated. Like I played college sports,
yeah,
and then went into men's physique bodybuilding for a while, and so I was most of my 20s I was in very good shape, and then life, married, kids, started to get out of shape, right? Dad bod.
sure.
And people are always curious about, was that just from your diet, like your transformation, or from where you were to where you are? If I eat that diet, is that what's going to happen? And it's really hard for me to explain to people because I feel like everybody thinks the diet's like a weight loss pill, right? Like, oh, as long as I eat these foods, how much and when? Just tell me what to eat, and it's going to be like this weight loss and everything's going to get better. And while that's kind of true, like it's this weird process that, and I always use the avalanche analogy, it's this weird process where as soon as I stop eating things that are making me feel terrible, right? As soon as I start feeling better, then all of a sudden I'm like, I've got a little more energy. Like I don't have those sluggish times through the day. Okay, now I can get back to working out. And then I start working out, and then I'm like, man, like I have even more energy, and then I'm sleeping better, and then I wake up and I have more energy, and then I want to work out more, and then I'm like, man, this diet's working, so then I want to keep the diet going, and then it's just, and then all of a sudden you realize that your mental health has improved drastically because you don't have these lulls, and you don't wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like the worst. And so it's hard for me to quantify what exactly happens. But almost everyone I've talked to, it's been this process of first I started with diet, and then I started feeling better, and then I started losing weight, and then I started working out, and now it's just.
Yeah. I think it's also when you lose a lot of body fat, and it makes it easier to exercise. It's just you have the same power, but you don't need to, it's easier to move. And I still, from time to time, I still have, when I'm sitting on the couch, I still have this kind of reflex that, I don't want to get up because, and then I remember, okay, it's actually easy for me to get up, So, and then I just get up because it's not difficult. So it's quite surprising to me still, what a huge difference it makes to be in good shape rather than not being in good shape. And I was not obese or you look at some of some of the stories we follow, some of the guys we follow on X as well, who they're losing like hundreds of pounds, which is just incredible. I mean, mine was just, I just went from dad bod to six pack, just with diet, and then I keep it up with exercise, and it's great. In fact, in the beginning, I think for me in the first year, I just couldn't believe. I couldn't believe it was true. It just felt completely mind blowing every day. How can this change? How can this change in lifestyle how can it make such a big change in terms of physical and mental well-being? Of course, now in 4 years in, you kind of get used to it, but something I especially as people get older, I really think I really recommend it, and I think the kind of the counter argument of YOLO, that I'm never going to give up my artisan bread, or I'm never going to give up my ice cream or whatever. Okay, it's fair enough, but for me, and I was big into drinking fine wines and having gourmet foods and everything. I think the simple way is, on balance, there is absolutely no doubt for me that it's the right thing for me. And I think it's the right thing for a lot of people, because they will simply feel better. Of course, the big issue is that because a lot of our social conditioning has to do with food and drink, and a lot of this, let's say, socializing we do is related to food and alcoholic beverages, makes it a little bit difficult. You need to substitute all the time you spend around food, cooking, preparing, and drinking, and all these things. You need to substitute it with something else. Otherwise, you're probably gonna relapse back into your old bad habits. So it's a good opportunity to clean out your values, or let's say polish up your values, and start working on your good habits and get rid of the bad ones. And
what's been the response from your family, right? Because obviously, like 50 pounds, you may not have been obese, but 50, 60 pounds is a lot of weight. What was their response?
They've been, I would say they've been supportive. I mean, I think in a way, because I'm a little bit the kind of person, I do what I want anyway, so probably they consider me slightly crazy, but so so they know it makes no sense to try and protest. But I did have a lot of pushback from some friends, and some of them said, yeah, okay, you can do it for maximum, you can pull this through maximum 9 months. Longer is not possible. And some of them said, oh, what about your kidneys? And you're going to it's so unhealthy, and they're sitting there taking their statins and their blood pressure medication and whatever else they take, blood thinners and all kinds of stuff. And I still have some of my friends, they're still, you're still doing your new hobby. So there is some light pressure, not really pressure, but there is some comments from the beer belly fraction still, and what can you do? I'm there to help them if they want to, if they want to get some advice on how to do it. It's not difficult, but I'm there to help them if they get ready.
And that's the one that blows me away. So, do you think people are just so ingrained with their comfort, right, or their habits, or what they like to do, that they are so resistant to change that they can watch somebody who's literally right next to them, go through this huge transformation and tell them all of this stuff that is benefiting, tell them all this medication that they're getting off of, and they still are not interested in at least attempting.
Yes, I think it's related to. First of all, I think most people, just like me 5 years ago, most people, even though they know a lot of things about a lot of things, they know very, very, very little about nutrition and health. And what they are told, they are kind of living in like I was as well, that basically you trust dietary guidelines, you trust official messages from a point of view that, yeah, okay, we've got controls in place, and it can't be completely wrong what they're saying. It just that wouldn't make any sense, because after all, we have beautiful infrastructure, everything works nice. When I flip the switch, the lights come on, and so I think there is a tremendous lack of knowledge, and then there is comfort in doing things that give instant gratification as well. And I think that's another one. And we'd be lying if we said that changing your dietary lifestyle to a ketogenic or a carnivore or a low carb one, that it doesn't require any sacrifice. It does in fact require a sacrifice, which may or may not feel big. It doesn't feel big to me, but because I made the decision actively that I want to do it. Now, if somebody comes and tells me that I should do it, I probably wouldn't have done it. It's so. I think I think there's a lot of inertia, and of course we are bombarded with anti-meat propaganda. We are bombarded with advertising for super highly processed foods and candies. If I turn on the TV, it's 8:30 here in the evening. If I turn on the TV, it's nothing but ice cream and pizza commercials, frozen pizza and ice cream and candy and stuff like that. So, and then I think, I think instant gratification is, live a little, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And yeah.
I agree. So I think most people, for most people, that's a huge shift, right? Like, that's a huge dietary shift from what they're doing currently. And I think most people need an aha moment, right? Like, where it's finally like, okay, I'm done. And I can relate to that because, for multiple years, I knew what I was doing, right? I still would eat fairly healthy. Like, I would still, bring my food to work. But I was carrying around about 20, 25 extra pounds. And I was like, I don't really like this. But I knew that given my work schedule and my family and having a new baby, that I was okay with making the choice to not work out, because the gym was, 30 minutes away, and now, like, to not work out and to spend time with my family instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was okay with that. But I finally got to a point where I was like, no, I'm tired of feeling this way. And then I tried to go back to what I'd done in the past. And in the past, like, losing weight was a science to me. Like, I could go like that, and as long as I followed my plan and did what I did, like, I could almost map out how much weight I was going to lose and how long it was going to take and where I would end up. And I tried that again, and I lost weight, but I didn't feel good. Like, I lost 15 pounds, but I still did not feel good. And that was my moment where I was like, this is dumb. And so I gave it up and gained all the weight back. I was like, I just ate super healthy for 3 months, lost weight, and still do not feel good. Like, I'm done. And then I had another aha moment a couple of months later where I was like, okay, now I really need to change this, because I'm tired of being, like, I don't want to be the dad that's 60, 70, 100 pounds overweight, because I don't want that. And I think it's really hard for people to hit that aha moment if they don't have something drastic that happens in their life. Like, they have a medical event or they have a family member with a medical event, it's just so much easier to go, yeah, I'm not going to prep food today. Like, I'm going to order it off my phone and we're going to watch Netflix and eat Uber Eats today. Like, it's so difficult to get people out of that routine and like that comfort zone.
Yeah, and I think you talk about not feeling well. I mean, my trigger was that I just felt like crap, and I thought that stopping alcohol would change that. So let's say my experience was similar to yours in that way, that I thought, okay, if I stop alcohol, that's going to solve everything, and it didn't really solve a lot. It's probably a good idea not to drink alcohol, but and I haven't started again. But then I thought, okay, we have to shift gears and do something.
And I did the same thing. So for my 90 days, I didn't drink. And I'm not a big drinker, but
Yeah.
I would, glass of wine, beer every once in a while, scotch on occasion. And so for my 90 days, I didn't eat any processed foods. I didn't cheat. I didn't drink alcohol. And I was like, I should feel amazing right now. And I don't.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided, okay, obviously what's worked in the past isn't working now.
Yeah.
So I need to like broaden my horizons, because I'd never heard of carnivore. This was just last year.
Yeah. It's about carnivore. I think the first I heard about carnivore was actually at the time I was just before I started. I decided to do the ketogenic one. I'd also found Sean Baker and Ken Berry. I think Ken Berry had just shifted to 1 meal a day at that point, and I'm not sure he was fully carnivore at that point. Maybe he had also just shifted to carnivore. But honestly, I felt that even though I really, really, really like meat, and I at that point or at any point in my life, I wouldn't have minded eating only meat for a long time. I felt at that time that it was completely extreme to actually eat only meat all the time. I just felt that it was completely crazy. So that's why the ketogenic way, where you still have some, you do some recipes and you try to, let's say, simulate some of the stuff that you ate before with using some plants and some cheese and some other stuff, almond flour. That felt more realistic to me. Yet here we are, and now I'm let's say I'm 98% carnivore. I did have some broccoli a few days ago, and in fact I felt it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good the next day. No, it didn't feel bad, but I felt something. And so obviously I haven't been eating enough plants for such a long time
So I actually got super excited when I heard about carnivore, and I started more animal based, because I've always eaten a lot of meat, but it's always been the leaner meats, right? Like ground turkey or 93.7 ground beef or chicken or ground chicken, turkey bacon, like always the leaner meats, because I was always trying to control my calorie intake.
Yeah, classic bodybuilding, classic fitness.
Right?
Yeah,
like
sure.
chicken and rice, like chicken and broccoli.
Chicken, broccoli, rice.
And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, I don't really have anything to lose. Like, I mean, the worst that happens is I get sick of it and I stop doing it.
Exactly.
But I was like, you're telling me that I can essentially eat what I was, because when I would plan on losing weights, I would lower my carb intake, and that would work like a charm. So I'm like, okay, so I could just do that, but all I have to do is swap out the chicken for a steak and swap out the ground turkey for ground beef, and that's it. I was like, I could do that. Like, that's easy. And I started it, and it was that instantaneous. As soon as I removed, I didn't eat a whole bunch of seed oils, but I'd cook with canola oil every once in a while, or eat baked foods with canola oil. But as soon as I removed that, and as soon as I cut out the vegetables, I was like, I can eat and not bloat. Like, I'm in. Like, I'm sold. And since then, I've like tweaked it a little bit and cut out a few things and kind of gone more carnivore and less animal based. But just that initial, like eating the higher fat content, eating the red meat, and getting rid of the vegetables was game changer. And that I was like, why would I ever want to go back to, having to wear stretchy pants after dinner and being bloated
Yeah.
24/7?
Yeah, I mean, what? Not not much point. And yeah, one of the things I noticed as well is food waste is zero food waste. I used to throw away lots of stuff before, but it's so easy to manage because it's so simple that you don't have any food waste, which also means I think my feeling is that I probably spend less money on food than I used to before.
Yeah, I definitely do. And the food waste, like I was the king of trying to come up with new ways to eat vegetables and then rotting them in the back of the fridge. Like,
Classic.
I don't know how many times I would make, 5, 6 meals of vegetables, eat 2 of them, and then just go, I can't do it anymore. And then have to throw them away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, and you mentioned the canola oil. I think I've mainly used. Canola oil is very, very popular in Europe as well, but so is olive oil, and so I've been using a lot of olive oil before. I rarely use olive oil now. I use coconut oil and butter and tallow. And that works. That works fine. And I can't. It's difficult to say because I change so many things at the same time. Whether how much is down to bread, how much is down to eliminating seed oils, and what has had what positive effect on my gut microbiome. But one thing I do. And the only plants I eat consistently is sauerkraut, and I do try to get just a couple of forkfuls of sauerkraut with my meal every day, based on I don't know if you know Sean O'Mara, Dr. Sean O'Mara. He's very convinced of the benefit of fermented of ferments.
Is he the carb addict doctor?
No, that's not him. Sean O'Mara is the guy with the MRI scans. He's the visceral fat guy.
Oh, okay.
The guy who looks like Richard Gere.
Gotcha. Yes.
So, and anyway, he's in top good shape, and he's gone through a very similar. He's put up some pictures of himself, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, etc. And very, very similar path, but I think so that's my only non-carnivore stuff that I do consistently. So I probably have 30 grams of sauerkraut per day, but I think it's good for my gut.
I've actually thought about incorporating a little bit. I like kimchi, and so
kimchi is same stuff. So
I've thought about getting some kimchi and trying that out, because what's really hard to impress upon people is, and people will go, well, how do you know what was the difference? Like, okay, I can go to a restaurant right now and eat a steak, and after 10 minutes I can tell you whether it was cooked in seed oils or not, because I will bloat. Like, and people are like, oh, come on. I'm like, no, like that's a fact. I can eat 2 pounds of steak I cook at home right now in tallow and be totally fine. Yeah. And I can go to a restaurant and eat and immediately just eat steak and immediately go, something's different about this. And so once you've done it long enough, and once you've eliminated enough foods, it's pretty easy to figure out what your triggers are.
Super easy.
And I think it's totally fine for people to start incorporating, especially, like fermented foods and that kind of stuff, to see how you feel, because it may give you a nice little benefit and boost and add some taste to it. And if it doesn't, you'll be able to know pretty quickly.
Yeah, you'll know immediately. And I think, I think for me, this I'm not inclined to do huge experiments with trying to add back any carbs or anything like that, because it was such a good experience getting rid of diarrhea. It's and not once, I have not had one incidence since I started ketogenic. Not once, from almost daily. It's just crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so something very good happened in my gut. That's for sure.
For sure. So before we wrap it up,
yes,
people are listening. If people are on the fence, not sure what route to go, as someone who just went full for it, burned the ships, jumped off the bridge, what would be 30 seconds, minute advice you'd give to somebody on how to start, how to at least attempt?
I think just go for it. I didn't know that I was going to continue to do it, so I thought I'm going to give it a month, and then I thought with the intermittent fasting and with leaving out certain foods, I was very apprehensive, actually, and I thought, maybe it's bad for the kidneys, whatever, all the kinds of things that you have in your head. And I thought, okay, if I start feeling worse, I can stop. I can immediately walk to the fridge and stop. So it's not dangerous. Just do it. Just try it out. Give it a month, or give it even better. Give it 3 months and incorporate some fasting. That's what I would do. And no need to be afraid. If you feel bad, have a Mars bar. Or whatever. Have something healthy. So I think it's simple, and I would also, just other thing I would recommend. I really strongly recommend the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and unfortunately I don't get any commissions from him. I always recommend the book. For me, a very, very influential book for me, which has helped with all these new habits, including stopping alcohol, including the change to ketogenic and carnivore, and exercise, and loads of other things. Setting the bar for new good habits low enough, and then just keep doing it, and being consistent. So, yeah, do it and be consistent.
I've read that book, and I can piggyback off of that. And real quick about once you start those habits. So it's funny you mentioned like getting off the couch and going to work out. This morning, so it's almost noon here. This morning before our show, I was like, you know what? Like, I was mapping out my week, and I'm like, today would be a good rest day. I'll just, sit around, and I made it about 30 minutes. And I looked at the clock, and I was like, nah, I can get a workout in there. So I went and worked out and like ran up here right after. It's just, once you do it, it's so much easier to jump back into it. And I fully agree with that. Like, just start. Like, even if you do it just for a couple weeks, like, there's no shame in trying something and stopping. There's no health risk. Like, people have fasted for multiple, however long, weeks at a time, and had no ill effects. So you can't tell me that.
And it's not dangerous to feel hungry. It is not dangerous to feel hungry. It's normal,
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Claus. If people want more information, want to follow, interact with you, what social media websites are you on?
The best is X, Twitter, and I'm Claus Carlsen 1 at Claus Carlsen 1 on Twitter. The other ones, we upload some videos with my friend Lars on YouTube, and my YouTube is CCC369. But really, Twitter is the way to get me, and I do respond. So I'm very, very active and post a lot and respond a lot. So
I can attest. A great follow. Well, thank you very much for being on here. Thank you for everybody listening, and until next time, have a great one.